this week, Final Fantasy 16 gets DLC, but Zelda doesn't. More layoffs at Embracer Group, and Super Mario Wonder gets more details, because this is the Nerd Cave News. I am your illustrious host, Zach Dykes, joined along with my co-host that's from a far away city. A renowned investigative journalist frequented a cafe, unaware of his magical ties. The cafe owner, a secretive witch, discovered he was investigating an important murder case. She gave the writer a cup of tea infused with a potion that granted him the power to extract truth from anyone. Our writer soon discovered his abilities and unwound the truth that revealed the murderer. It was none other than Alexander Bonaparte, writer and truth finder.
So I definitely like this one. First, when they started off, it felt like more like my first thought was Detective Pikachu, but but then when it's like the power to extract the truth, that made me think of like L.A. Noir, like when you're doing the investigating,
Ooh,
like
yeah.
you get enough right answers, you gain that, what was it, intuition points or whatever it was, to like
Yeah.
make the right call. So I definitely like that.
Yeah.
So now the important part, where does this rank? Because 2 weeks ago, guys, I gave Amy the business, because while she's been killing it for the last several months, she laid an egg the last time, which
No. That was not an egg. Everybody in chat loves John Stevenson. John Stevenson, CPA extraordinaire and urban hiking legend, is a great name. You, on the other hand, it's not Zoltan the Conqueror or the Sun King Balrog the Merciless.
bringer of death.
You know what I mean? You got brought down. It's a fan favorite, Derek. Maybe in your list, it's way down, and it is immortalized in Nerd Cave history. You are just butthurt that you weren't some god or some tyrant or something like that. You were brought down to a mere mortal, but not just any mere mortal. Urban hiking legend John Stevenson. And I think, when all of those others are false, they're fantasies, you could be John Stevenson, Derek. If you work hard enough, you really could be John Stevenson. Just saying.
You too can prevent forest fires. But you know what? You know what? That's all fine and dandy, Zach. At the same time, these are my names.
Oh,
And
they're
I'm
your
the one
names.
ranking them. So my list is the only one that matters, sir. So everyone can have all their personal opinions they have, and that's fine. They can have their favorites, they can have their own rankings, but it's my name that we're giving every week. My name's on the list. So it's my opinion that matters.
Sure. Okay. Well, Derek, where does Alexander Bonaparte, writer and truth finder, and to Dan's point, it does sound like Wonder Woman's lasso of truth.
Good point.
Oh yeah, and Amy. Oh, they're his names. Yeah, I was feeling that too. Better watch out, Derek. Better watch out.
I mean, I don't see you getting names, Zach. Just saying.
Because my name is so great, I don't have to have like these power fantasies every week.
Yeah, you only create them in video games where you're like a Sith Lord. Sure.
Yeah.
That's definitely not the same in the same realm.
No. Derek, where does Alexander Bonaparte, writer in Truthfinder, fall on the list of Derek names?
So again, exposition, S tier. So and the name stuck the landing. So by that definition, it automatically goes up to the top 10.
Oh.
So I don't think it's top 5, but I'm looking at the last 3. We got number 8, Sheriff Steelheart. We got number 9, Ringmaster Mortimer Nightshade. And number 10, we've got President Desmond Cyrus Alizon III. Oh, it's going to, like, I'm debating between 9 and 10. But I do like Ringmaster Mortimer Nightshade a little bit more. So Alexander Bonaparte will be our new number 10.
Well, there you go.
You redeemed yourself this week, Amy.
Derek, I'm gonna just say you keep barking up that tree. Keep barking up that tree. You ain't gonna get no name next week. You could be Derek Daniel.
I mean, that's fine. You got to take it up with my mother, if you don't like it. She's the one who named me.
Yeah, Derek, why don't you rank your own name? That's what we're gonna do next week. Where did your real name rank? Top 10, baby, exactly. Yeah, he's going to get some troll names. Guys, if you want to submit your name, let's make sure we get some really good ones in there for Derek. Let's make him feel very loved in there. But guys, this episode is brought to you by the Epic Game Store, where you can support us by using creator code NerdCave at checkout on any purchase, even the free games. Get your Fortnite stuff, get all of those things. Every purchase helps us a little bit. We get a little tiny little piece of it, but it helps us a ton. So thank y'all for the ones that have been doing that. Also, we're supported by Coffee Brand Coffee and our wonderful patrons, but more about that later. People coming over here just dogging y'all on you. Just dogging.
I mean, that's fine. It's lonely at the top.
Maybe I'll name you both next week, Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Well, we know who Derek is. Derek's the last one.
Yeah, you can't even say it. Say it with your chest.
Tweedledum, boy. Does Derek have any older siblings? If so, then his name doesn't even rank on the top of his mom's. He is the oldest.
Joke's on you. I am the oldest.
Yeah. He was the trial run. They were like, we're not satisfied. Let's have another one. And then
You're such a jerk.
You love me, and I love you, man.
Yeah, whatever.
So, Derek, before we get into the gaming discussion this week, I want to ask what you've been playing.
So, your boy has finished Jedi Survivor. So,
awesome.
Only 4 months later.
Yeah, I
feel beat it last week, and I was looking forward to our discussion, but then work happened.
Yeah, work happened. So, Derek, you finished Jedi Survivor. Just like, where would you put, where do you feel like Jedi Survivor this year is going to kind of fall with all the games that are going on?
Ooh, I feel like because of since Jedi Survivor, it was when it came out, it was between them and Hogwarts Legacy as one of the talked about. Then the other heavy hitters started dropping with Diablo 4. Then you had the surprise hit of Baldur's Gate 3, and now Starfield. Starfield has not.
Kingdom.
Tears of the good point. Tears of the Kingdom. The big ones are starting to fall. So while I think Hogwarts Legacy will be the odd man out, I still think Jedi Survivor will be in Game of the Year discussion, but I don't think it will be the top tier contender anymore.
Yeah.
Just because for me, and you asked me about it, when I told you I beat the game, I feel like now again, other people may have had the different thing. I felt like the ending, it wasn't predictable, but it just didn't feel like it just. I don't want to say it fell flat either, but it just kind of ended the typical ending that you would expect from any kind of genre, whether it be books, movies, TV shows, that kind of thing. It just kind of had that atypical ending that while it was emotional and there was all this great, bravado toward the end, it just kind of felt ever since that twist that, that surprised the heck out of both of us,
yeah,
in the last third of the game, it kind of felt like it didn't build up from that. But I will say the side quest with Cage, I'm not going to say any kind of professions because, just because, I don't want to give it away. But Cage in the game, if you finish that side quest, it has a nice little Easter egg payoff that, I kind of made me gasp. So, but that's a side mission.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna just guess it'd have to deal with Boba Fett.
Can neither confirm nor deny.
Okay. So, yeah, I still got to finish it. I was gonna do it Tuesday, but some things came up, so we canceled the stream. So hopefully next Tuesday I'll finish out Jedi Survivor, and get to experience it and everything, see where I mull it over a little bit, and then we can go a little bit deeper on our thoughts on Survivor. But I started playing Starfield, Derek,
Yes. I have
and
been looking forward for your opinion on this because the reviews and the reviews say one thing, people who play it say another thing. So what say you, Zach? Because this has been, I don't want to say your most anticipated game of the year, but definitely one of the up there for it.
yeah, 100%. I've been looking forward to playing Starfield for a very long time. I love Bethesda games. Skyrim is definitely my favorite Bethesda game so far. Haven't finished Starfield. I played a few hours of it so far, and it definitely feels like a Bethesda game. There's some
Mm.
Bethesda jank, let's just be honest.
I mean, yeah.
But when you come into it not expecting them to change everything that Bethesda is known for, but you're coming in, this is a Bethesda game. We're going to have that kind of flow with the different, missions and everything. That having that mindset and coming into it really set me up to actually enjoy it. And the character creation is really, really fun. I made one of our favorite characters from Demon Slayer as my character. Can you guess?
Oh,
Can you set your heart ablaze?
yeah,
Derek?
I was gonna say, please, if it's not Rengoku, I don't want it.
Yeah, I made Rengoku as my character in in Starfield, and
Tasty.
tasty, exactly. So I'm really excited about doing all of that. The beginning is very, it's kind of slow paced. It gets you in there. The gameplay, the gunplay is much more solid than it ever has been. It felt a little loose, but I went in and tweaked the controls a little bit with my reticle, and that helped a lot because it just felt loose. The way I'm playing it also might be some of that. I'm playing it on xCloud on my backbone. That's how I started playing it. So I'm not playing it on a PC. I'm not playing it on the Xbox Series X or anything. I'm literally xClouding this, and it actually is working really well, man. Like it looks good, even just on the xCloud with like them processing everything. But the little bit that I've played, it has like, it has enough of a hook into like what's going on and everything. And I'm excited to see where the story goes. And when I hear other people talk about it, they've been expecting all these big grand things, and I'm like, do you really know who Bethesda is? They make these big worlds, but like they're not going to change the way they make games.
Right.
So I think the ambition is there. I think they've definitely improved on a lot of things from just the little bit I've played. And I can't wait to get into some of the crazy stuff that I've heard talked about. There's like a Batman-esque mission that is in here that you get to kind of stumble upon. And you get to really explore. And from just hearing, like Greg Miller talk about it, he's on like his 5th playthrough of the game.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, because Greg is definitely not that kind of guy. So, like, seeing that, it just makes me like, okay, with New Game Plus, you get to carry on that character. I definitely want to experience that. I want to see what it means to play this game and really, like, kind of just like, okay, play through one. I'm just going through the main story, leveling them up as much as I can. And then New Game Plus, I'm going to try to be a pirate, new game, whatever profession I want to do, and just explore as much as I possibly can. So I am really, really excited about that. And Starfield has just the little bit I've played. I'm really, really enjoyed it.
So a couple questions. One is, for Bethesda's, because this, when it was first announced, this was Bethesda's first new game in I forget how many years. 20 years. How do you, and this is the first time they've tackled like a space adventure RPG, and we really haven't had that a kind of adventure since Mass Effect. Especially with the dialogue choices and whatnot. It's not fair to compare because it's a new franchise versus an established one, but how does it hold up compared to Mass Effect, like in terms of just overall gameplay, like space exploration adventure? And then part B is, how does it fare for Bethesda to tackle this new type of genre for them?
I think they've handled the genre really well.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I said, I've got probably 2 hours of gameplay in so far, so I'm very
Mm-hmm.
early stages of it, but it feels like the universe has been lived in
Mm-hmm.
overall. Um, and the various factions is going to be a key part of whatever Bethesda does. They did it
Mm-hmm.
with Fallout, they've done it with Skyrim, so
Mm-hmm.
they've already established like the Crimson Fleet, those are the pirates, and then you've got
Got you.
the the explorers, you've got different, you got miners, you've got all of these different things. So like they've established all of that very early on, and
Mm-hmm.
I think they're doing a good job. Comparing it to Mass Effect, um, I feel like Mass Effect has a more structured story compared to what this game is, where you
Okay.
literally could not even do like after you get to New Atlantis, you could literally never do the main story and go
Yeah.
be a sheriff in some like backwoods planet or whatever.
Yeah.
So Mass Effect, on the other hand, again, Mass Effect is several years old at this point.
Mm-hmm.
The exploration was more limited, where it was more barren worlds that you go on the Mako and everything. But I feel like the storytelling was a lot more crafted from what I've experienced so far, way more crafted just because it was a smaller scope of a game. There's
Got you.
still a lot to explore, but all the Mass Effects at to a degree were a much smaller scope than what Starfield is. But I think they're doing an awesome job. I can't wait to explore more and to hear people that I, listen to and really take into their opinion, as,
Mm-hmm.
closer to like what I think about games as well.
Right.
I'm very excited to experience more Starfield and, just live as much as I can in that universe.
Right. My last question is, and this is more about for Xbox, the company.
Hmm.
They've talked about it. They've talked about it for the last year or two
Yeah.
about how the dominoes have got to start falling. They've got all these exclusives that they've shown off, and now that's like they're slowly starting to trickle them out and put them out in the wild for people to play. This year in particular, I feel like like everyone talked about. This was a jumping off point for them, and like the hit like surprise launch of Hi-Fi Rush, everyone
Yep.
figured, all right, this is a good like little appetizer to get into the main course. Then you got Redfall,
Hmm.
and it was a sour taste. It came back raw, not even medium rare. It came back raw, and you're like, I
Yeah.
can't eat this. And then now Starfield's out, and while it wasn't that 10 out of 10 like giant killer that everyone expected, I feel
Hmm.
like is it fair to say that this is actually the first domino? Like it may not be like up there with the God of Wars and the Ghost of Tsushima's, but I feel like it's up there with like Infamous Second Son or um I, I'm trying to like think of another game that's like like maybe like Uncharted 2 or 3. Well, maybe not even Uncharted 2 because that's what. But you get where I'm trying to
Yeah. Yeah.
say. But is it fair to say that this is the actual first domino for Xbox's banner to plant a flag and be like, all right, now we're starting to get serious about being a contender?
100%, dude. Like this game already has over 6 million players.
Yeah, crazy.
Crazy numbers. And I don't think it might got a 7 out of 10 at IGN. It might have got a 3 out of 5 at Kind of Funny or whatever. Like people are going to love this game.
For sure.
This the same way, like the reason why Bethesda kept putting out Skyrim on multiple versions and
Yeah.
multiple consoles and all of that is because people loved it. They didn't really
Mhm.
do that with Fallout 4 because it was the same thing. This
Right.
is a new thing. This is a new IP from Bethesda, and people want to go explore. They want to go see all of these planets. They want to get in this universe and really just, put their teeth in it. And yes, it might not be as well crafted where every moment is just another awesome beat like God of War.
Yeah.
But when you think about what this game is, it stands pretty high up there on what it's trying to do. Yeah, it might
Right.
have some bugs because it just launched, but I think this game is going to be a game of the year contender. Is Baldur's Gate a better RPG? Yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
But with this game, it's doing something else. It's not fantasy, it's that space exploration like we were talking about. The last one we really got was No Man's Sky, which is probably the closest to this, but
Fair.
they don't have the same story crafting that Bethesda is really known for. And I think this is going to be a testament to what Xbox has actually invested in over the years. And I think this is going to be kind of the turning. They've already said, okay, Redfall can never happen again, just like Cyberpunk 2077 can't ever happen again.
Right, exactly.
It's like, okay, we've made that mistake. We're not going to have that happen again. And Phil Spencer is very big on that not happening. And for Starfield to come out and already have 6 million players the second day it's launched for everybody, right. I think that's a big thing. I also, this is just a side thing. I think people paying to get early access, they're buying the game or whatever, is going to shift what Game Pass means, and they're going to do more of that early access, because there were a ton of people buying the $31 whatever it was for Xbox, people buying $100 versions on Steam just to get it 4 or 5 days early, and I think we're going to see more of that from other games that Xbox is going to do. It's like, oh, well, it does come day one on Game Pass, quote unquote, but you can actually get it early by doing this. And I know they're trying to, get influx of cash and everything, because I know a lot of people are just like, I'll wait till it just comes on to Game Pass. And that's how I was as well. So that's just an aside. I think Starfield is the turning of the page for Xbox into this next step. They just got to continue to make good games and actually put them out, because that is something that they've extremely struggled with. I can't wait for the next Senua's game. I can't wait for another Gears game whenever that comes out and everything. So there's a ton of potential. They just got to keep executing it and actually get more games out. When you think about it, this year's literally had 3 Xbox games that I can think of. And one of them sucked.
But 2 out of 3 is not bad.
Yeah, 2 out of 3 is not bad, but this isn't swinging a baseball. This is video games, and they cost millions of dollars to make. So I'm excited for more Starfield. I can't wait to get into that. I just want to jump in chat real quick. Nate says, I've only played like 3 hours, and I like it. I'm gonna play when we're done with the show. Awesome. And he's streaming from his Series S to his tablet. So yeah, I definitely feel that. And I don't know how I feel about space travel. Got to get used to the controls. Yeah, space is different. It's not bad. Like, it has kind of like flight simulators kind of thing, where it's like you have to slow down the ship to turn it more. It's a little janky, and like controlling like the different powers levels in the ship while you're fighting somebody is not necessarily the most fun thing. I wish there was like, kind of quick keys where it's like, I need more power to shields. You do L1 and X or whatever, and it puts your shields all the way up, or I need more power to my engines, whatever. And you've got like a quicker way to do that. That would be a much better experience than, oh, I got to go over, click, and you're getting just hammered by someone's guns, and you're trying to, oh, I gotta bring that down, and then I gotta bring this up. Like that is annoying. Just the little bit that I fought. So, but other than that, I'm enjoying Starfield. I will talk about it more next week when we have another Nerd Cave. Let's get into the gaming discussion this week. First up, Zelda producer says there will be no DLC for Tears of the Kingdom.
That's what he told Japanese magazine Famitsu in a new interview, as translated by Genki Japan on Twitter. Based on his comments, the team behind Tears of the Kingdom might be moving on to a new Zelda game in a new Hyrule too. Quote, we have no plans to release additional content this time, but that is because we feel like we have done all that we can do to create a play in that world. Anuma told Famitsu, according to Genki, quote, this time the reason we decided to make a sequel to the previous game in the first place was because we thought it would be worth experiencing new ways to play in Hyrule. If such reasons arise, then we may return to the same world, whether it is a sequel or new work. I think it will be a completely new way to play, so I hope you will look forward to it. Tears of the Kingdom director Hidemaru Fujibayashi told Famitsu, quote, we are very grateful that so many customers have been playing Tears of the Kingdom for so long and deeply, so we will do our best to make the next title even more enjoyable. Anuma keeps the door open for a return to this Hyrule, of course. This Hyrule has made Nintendo a lot of money after all, but it seems pretty clear the team is planning to move on to something different, perhaps an entirely new branch of the Zelda series. Only time will tell, and if Tears of the Kingdom's development is anything to go off of, it might be years before we learn more. So, no stranger to that, because from what I remember or what I heard, the DLC for Breath of the Wild didn't set the world on fire like the Guardians one was the better of the two. Because I know, what was it? The other one was like a trial challenge thing, the first DLC. So the Guardian ones did okay, but it didn't like take the world by storm, and everyone talked about it as much as the main game. So I think this is the right play. It's like, look, same Hyrule, we're just adding verticality and depth exploration to it.
Yeah.
So it's like, why keep adding? Why keep beating the dead horse and keep adding to the same world again? And it is rare. I don't want to say, I've never played I haven't played any Zelda or every Zelda game known to man, but I know this is the first time in at least a while that they've done a sequel to the same series in the Legend of Zelda franchise. Usually they just go on to the next iteration like Mario.
Yeah.
But it was a surprise when they did a sequel to this, and I don't think they'll do it a third time, though. I do think they will move on to a new one, because I feel like the creative team is like, all right, we could, like the second one, Tears of the Kingdom was an improvement upon Breath of the Wild. It's like, hey, we could do more with this world. We can do even more. People love it. Why not give it a shot? And lightning struck twice. But now I think they don't want to tempt fate by trying it a third time and people getting bored of the formula and complaining and the sales go down. So I think they will explore a new franchise down the road. But what do you think? Are you okay with this decision?
Yeah, with Tears of the Kingdom being a sequel, which is not usual for the franchise, like you were saying, I think, they really took what was successful with Breath of the Wild and they expanded on it and went deeper with it, from, having the sky thing and then having the underneath as well, which did not get any kind of coverage, coming before it came out and all of that.
Yeah.
The building got a huge, introduction and overhaul. There was a lot to that as well. But it's like, okay, we've explored these mechanics so much, we've explored this world, we kind of just need a reset, essentially.
Right.
Some new way to tell an interesting story, a new way to build this world, because we've seen, with Assassin's Creed and Call of Duty, if you just keep hammering the same kind of game mechanics over and over and over, it gets stale, it gets old. And the thing that Nintendo has done really well with, and the reason why their, series have kind of stood the test of time compared to other games, is they keep it fresh, they keep it new. Because you think about Mario, we had side scrollers upon side scrollers of Mario for a very long time. They did, Dr. Mario, Paper Mario, all of this, and then they did Mario N64.
Right.
That was huge to have a 3D Mario. And then we still got side scrollers, and then we got Sunshine, which was totally different, all of that. And then we got some more side scrollers, and then we've got so many cool things came out of that because they were willing to try new things. And then we eventually got Odyssey. We're fixing to get Wonder, which we'll talk about here in a second. But Zelda has been the same way. You look at Wind Waker, totally different than Link to the Past or Skyward Sword. Like each
Majora's
time,
Mask.
Yeah, they like people, when they really love one of them, they really love one of the Zelda games. And I think that's a testament to this team that has constantly changed and done something different. It hasn't got stale, where you look again at something like an Assassin's Creed or a Call of Duty. It's the same thing over again with just a new layer of paint on it. And that gets tiring after a while. And to, their point, they want to try something new. They want to do something a little bit different, and they have the opportunity to come back and make something else. Because you look at Breath of the Wild, they did 2 DLCs, and Dan was like, the DLC was pretty much just a motorcycle. But then you had the Hyrule Warriors that took place in the same timeline. We had 2 of those that came out, and then we had Tears of the Kingdom, which, again, I think will be a major Game of the Year contender this year, because so many people, it's kind of like the Elden Ring, where so many people are still talking about that game. But it's like, okay, we've really exhausted everything that we can do. We need to move on, give it some time. If we want to come back, we can. And I
Right.
think, that's kind of how Nintendo is. Like, they're smart about it. They don't just run something in the ground. And so yeah, I'm curious to see what they do, but it will be a while. We'll have a new Nintendo console by that. I know
Right.
there's some rumors that
Yeah.
people have been
Rumor
seeing
has it.
a new Switch behind
Yeah.
closed doors and everything. So only time will tell. Dan says, well, Hyrule's Warriors was just Dynasty Wars. Yeah, exactly. I'm saying it was set in that universe, so they
Right.
continued to that story using the Guardians and all of that. So
Right. Especially since the second one, they made it a point to be like, oh, this is set 100 years before Breath of the Wild. And I'm like, okay, so they're trying to tie this in and make this like a shared universe type deal, even though it doesn't have a story.
yeah, exactly. So, continuing on with the Nintendo news, Super Mario Bros. Wonder Direct details.
The game starts when Prince Florian, ruler of the Flower Kingdom, has his castle stolen by Bowser. After fusing with a Wonder Flower, the King of the Koopas is able to fly over this new land, populating it with his chaotic cronies. As always, it's up to Mario and friends to save the day. But this time around, he's got more buddies than usual. In addition to Luigi, Peach, and a pair of Toads, Toadette and Daisy are also along for the ride. Unlike some past games, each character here plays the same, meaning Peach has no built-in floating ability and Luigi jumps just as high as Mario. For younger or less skilled players, you can also play as Yoshi or Nabbit, the latter of which is returning from his debut in New Super Luigi U. Neither of these characters takes damage from enemies, so they're useful for people who want to play the game with less of a challenge. The Yoshis are also retain their signature flutter jump and swallowing abilities, and they can even be ridden by other players. The Flower Kingdom is made up of 7 worlds: Pipe Rock Plateau, Fluff Puff Peaks, Shining Falls, the Petal Isles, and 3 more that have yet to be named. The map is traversed like a standard Mario overworld, locking you to certain paths on your way to a set order of courses, but there are also sections where you can move around freely and tackle courses in any order. There will be there will also be a course menu you can use to easily access courses, in case you don't feel like walking there every time. Once you enter one of the courses, there are a few new power-ups to make use of. The elephant power allows you to use your trunk as a weapon, smash bricks more easily, run across large gaps, and store water for later use. We also saw a bubble power that allows you to summon bubbles for offense or platforming, along with a drill power-up that can damage enemies above you and allow you to burrow into the ground or ceiling. Other than traditional power-ups, there are other ways to give your characters new abilities. The flashiest examples of this are Wonder Flowers, which trigger dramatic visual and artistic stage transformations. As examples, we saw warp pipes jump to life, hordes of enemies spawning, and characters transforming into balloons or spike balls. Once you collect a Wonder Seed, the stage will return to normal. These seeds can later be used to unlock new courses. The other new abilities come from badges, which are equipable items that alter your gameplay style. Examples here include a parachute cap, a dolphin kick that gives you a burst of speed underwater, and a grappling vine. You can only equip one at a time, and you'll have to unlock them over the course of the game, but this seems like a subtle way to massively change your gameplay experience. Finally, the Direct gave us a look at Super Mario Bros. Wonder's multiplayer options. You can play with the 4 players locally, but instead of turning into bubbles when they die like in previous games, they become ghosts. If another player can reach them before their timer runs out, they'll respawn with no life lost. If you enable online play, you'll be able to see other players as shadows playing courses at the same time as you. They can also bring your ghost back to life either by manually touching you or by placing a standee in a course. Standees are basically signposts modeled after characters and can be purchased from a Poplin shop. If you want to play online with friends, some courses will also allow you to race through them. By hitting a race block with shadows in the same course, you can trigger a timer to see who can reach the end first, though this will sometimes require you to defeat a boss or collect a Wonder Seed as well. So they had a direct last Wednesday. It was going to probably be one of the highlights of last week's or was it Thursday? Anyway, it was going to be one of the highlights of last week's show, but then again, work. So I wanted to save it for this week. But I don't know if you watched the direct. I didn't, but just listening to me read this article, what are your overall thoughts on Wonder? I know you're big on the 3D. Odyssey is your pride and joy.
Yeah.
But what does this do for you from a 2D aspect?
Um, Really nothing, because again, I don't really care for the 2D stuff.
Right.
You know, Mario Maker's fun, but only to a certain degree. I get frustrated a lot with
Yeah,
the
fair.
2D platforming and everything. But with them kind of taking away the powers, it feels like it was a more of a development decision than
Mm,
a storytelling decision,
yeah,
because for a very long time we've had Peach having her own powers,
for
Luigi
sure.
being able to jump higher, that sort
Yeah,
of stuff. And now where it's like everybody plays the same no matter what,
yeah,
kind of, and like I know they're probably focusing more on, hey, well, you get the elephant, that those abilities. I think they're trying to focus a little bit more on,
yeah.
but at the same time, we've grown accustomed to having each character having, their
Right.
very
In
unique
addition to
abilities.
the unique power-ups,
Yeah,
it's
because like the flower, fire flower, or
mhm,
the suit where you
the
can
Tanuki tail.
yeah, that one. All of those things we've grown accustomed to, but I think they're
Mhm,
trying to kind of reset things a little bit and
yeah,
try something a little new. The game looks really crisp. It looks, really well polished, and like every Mario
mhm,
game is. I've never known a Mario game to
right.
just be trash.
Yeah,
So I I like the idea that, more people can play, that there's actual online play. How that will actually work
mhm,
compared to Nintendo Online is another thing in and of itself.
yeah.
So only time will tell on that, because their online features are atrocious. But
Do
overall,
you
I go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, do you think that they did this, like, reset for the characters having no powers? Because again, they have these talks, it's they wanna be protective of their IP. Do you think this has anything to do with the fact of, like, they knew that the Mario Brothers movie was landing, and it's like, "Hey, people are gonna watch this, we're gonna have new fans coming in enthralled with this movie because it's so good, and now we're gonna release a 2D Mario, like what made us famous and popular. Let's try and be as, you know, even across the board as we can to, like, maximize our player base." Do you think
I
that had anything to do with it, or do you think this was from the get-go?
I think it was from the get go, because they knew that the movie was coming out.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it might have been a decision at that point. It's like, hey, we've got this movie. We think it's going to do really well. Because each character does take a certain kind of skill level to play with.
Yeah.
On the older ones, we played one at a friend's house a few months ago, and it was like some characters were way harder to play with than others. So
Right.
I think it might have been. I think that's a great way to think of it. It's like kind of even the playing field, and
Yeah.
this game is very vibrant. Like
Right.
most Mario games are, but this one is like vibrant and a lot of like visual stimuli going on
For
through
sure,
it.
especially when you get the Wonder Flower.
Yeah. And to Dan's point, they probably just wanted to equalize the players. Yeah. And I think that's, it's easier from a development standpoint as well, where you are introducing these new powers.
Mhm.
And if everybody acts different, that makes it a little bit more complicated. It's like, okay, when you get this new power, can you still float as an elephant?
Mm.
You know what I mean? So if
Yeah.
everybody is the same, that means whoever picks up the elephant power is going to play the exact same, and you're not having to
Yeah.
worry with, oh well, he's a Luigi, so he has to jump higher or whatever.
Mm.
So I
Yeah.
think that might be a lot of the decision there. It's like, hey, we just want to make everything a little bit easier on the development side, so everybody plays the same, so we're able to really go in and make this a memorable experience with the new things that we're trying, instead of holding on to older ideas that are cool, but we want to move forward and try something new.
Mhm. Good point.
So, but I'm curious to see how many people are going to try Super Mario Wonder. Let us know down in the comments. Something that Amy's been trying is coffee brand coffee, and she's been loving it, Derek.
Okay. I was
She's
gonna ask.
she's been enjoying the mess out of some coffee brand coffee, because it's exceptional. It's not just, just your run of the mill kind of coffee. It's a
Mhm.
awesome company with no gimmicks and no politics, and they've had nearly 4,000, not a few, not 500, but over 4,000 verified reviews, and most of those have been 5 out of 5. And Amy got a coffee and a tea. She got like a medium roast coffee and then just kind of a normal tea. I can't remember exactly what the name of it is off the top of my head, but she's like, the coffee's great. She's like, the tea is amazing. She got chai tea.
Wow.
She got chai tea. That's what it is. She was like, this is really, really good stuff, because Coffee Brand Coffee has over 12 coffee blends, 12 organic teas, 3 hot cocoa flavors. And if you like that cold brew stuff, they got that. And if you have a Keurig or a machine that works like a Keurig, they have K-Cups as well. Tons of cool stuff here. Freshness is guaranteed, because you want to know why, Derek?
Why?
It is roasted to order. It's not just sitting there. They didn't just roast it 3 months ago and it's just been sitting there for somebody to order. When you order it, they roast the beans then and there. So it's nice and fresh.
Right.
Fresh to death, sir. Fresh to death. So Amy's been really enjoying it. So if you want to elevate your coffee experience with Coffee Brand Coffee, use code NerdCave at checkout or the link in the description to get 5% off of your order. Again, code NerdCave at checkout for your 5% off your order.
Do it.
Now, Derek, it is time for some PlayStation news, and I am going to hand it over to you, sir, to talk about Final Fantasy 16.
So, starting off, we got the big one, because, Final Fantasy 16 came out, I forgot about that as well. It came out in June. Is getting 2 DLC expansions, and its PC port is officially in development. People have been talking about, they've been throwing this around. Zach and I have talked about it over the course of, the last couple months since the game came out, where the developers were like, hey, if people want it, we'll talk about a PC port. And well, a PC port was already kind of teased. It was just a matter of when. But the DLC was like, hey, we're we'll think about it if enough people want it. Well, guess what? Now it's here. Square Enix has announced that Final Fantasy 16 is getting 2 paid DLC expansions and confirmed its PC port is officially in development. More details about both aspects will be revealed later this year. Quote, as I mentioned earlier, we've seen many opinions and reactions from our community of Final Fantasy 16 players, says Naoki Yoshida. But one thing that came through particularly strongly was how people wanted to see more of Valistia's story and spend more time with her inhabitants. Yoshida then officially announced that the development team has started work on 2 paid DLC installments. He then went on to share some good news for those hoping to play the latest Final Fantasy on their PC. Quote, finally, while Final Fantasy 16 was released on a PlayStation 5 exclusive, we are aware that many of you have been asking for a PC version. So allow me to take this opportunity to officially announce that development on a PC version is currently underway. Quote, I hope to be able to give you more information on both the upcoming DLC and the PC version before the end of the year, so please stay tuned. Additionally, a free update for the game is out now that includes alternate costumes for several characters, a new onion sword weapon, and the ability to change the appearance of Clive's weapons while keeping the stats of the equipped one. So this is exciting for Final Fantasy 15 people. Like, I know 16 has been severely hyped since it was announced. Like, it's it's been in long development. People have been wanting for this, and now that the fact that we're going to get more of the game, I feel like they're going to get, it's going to be a big release. Like, I feel like we'll get Game Awards will be around the right time for them to announce at least the first DLC. I feel like they'll take a Pokemon approach where it's like, all right, first DLC will be announced, and we'll give it this release date, and then about 6 months later, the second DLC will drop. I have yet to buy Final Fantasy 16. I know, like, the aesthetic of it, like the Witcher feel to it, the more medieval aspect to it has struck a chord with me, but I have yet to play it. I was hot and heavy with Survivor. So I wanted to get through that first before, I wanted to get through that first before I dedicate to anything else. And, but there's so much else to play that I don't know when I'll get to it. Will I get to it eventually? Probably. When will that be? No telling. But it's good. Like, I hope, that the Final Fantasy 15, if it's 15, or anything based on Final Fantasy 15 DLC, those were like good chunk expansions, but they focused more on separate characters in that universe. They had more of an extensive plan, but then they were like, let's axe this, let's cut the fat because it's taking too long and it's taking away from development at that point from Kingdom Hearts 3 before it had released and Final Fantasy 16 in the works. So they're like, let's just put it out and be done with it. I hope they take their time and make it more like play more into that Witcher aesthetic where it's like, let's make these big media expansions because if for anyone who remembers, the Witcher 3 expansions were big media, especially Blood and Wine were big media expansions that weren't just like, oh, let's add a few new quests, a few side quests, another like mini game gimmick, and then that's it. They're gonna actually they took their time, they made it, and just like with the Phantom Liberty DLC for Cyberpunk, they're taking their time. It almost feels like it's a whole new game or like a standalone expansion themselves. So I hope, by now deciding to work on DLC that they take their time, they don't just throw it out. Another good example of like DLC that I felt like was rushed too quickly was the first Horizon game. Now, granted, it was a new IP. They wanted to strike while the iron was hot, and basically, with it coming out in February and then the DLC coming out in November with Frozen Wilds, that they wanted to strike while the iron was hot, like I said, and they put it out, but then it just kind of felt like it didn't have meaning to it. It didn't have that flair that the release of the new game had. And people were like, "Yeah, it's okay, but not worth remembering." Whereas Forbidden West came out, and then a year later, over a year later, Burning Shores came out. Now, neither Zach nor I have played it, but from what I had read, while it still doesn't capture that same flair as the main game, it felt like more of like a true expansion than just something that was thrown together in 6 months. So hopefully they take more of that approach and take their time with the DLC. As another good example is what we talked about earlier in the show with Zelda. Like, Breath of the Wild's DLC did not light the world on fire, and it just felt like half baked. So with them not deciding to do DLC for Tears of the Kingdom is a smart move. But I want to know what you guys think. Like, especially for you PC players out there that don't have a PS5 or don't have limited game time. Are you excited to play some more Final Fantasy 16 if you played it? Are you gonna play it on PC if you've been waiting for it? Let me know. We're gonna move on here because Zach has Zach's indisposed at the moment. We're gonna go on to the PlayStation Quickies. Starting off because we just got a few of them, and we can, when Zach gets back, we can get his opinions on Final Fantasy 16 DLC. First up, PlayStation Star's new collectibles for September have been revealed, and the PlayStation Portal pre-orders are now live and has a release date of November 15th. I'm sure last week Zach talked about the PS Plus price hike, and obviously it was bound to happen. Everything's going up in price, like across the board, no matter what, food, gas, what have you. It was just a matter of time before it started seeping its way into video games as well. And everyone thought that the price hike would be bad. Well, the price hike announcement has resulted in Sony's shares increasing. Veteran BioWare level designer Joss Hendricks lands at Sucker Punch Productions. That one's an intriguing one, and I want to know Zach's opinions on that. Naughty Dog celebrates a 1-year anniversary of The Last of Us Part 1 on PS5. And lastly, Naughty Dog's Neil Druckmann insists he, quote, can't say anything about the studio's new PS5 game, which that's fine. For me, mum is the word. Just keep your head down, make the game, and when you're ready to show it, and wow the world once again, like you did with Last of Us after coming off Uncharted. So, going back to the BioWare veteran, going to Sucker Punch. This to me is big because, while I don't expect them to change Ghost of Tsushima to a more RPG heavy game, it was a big open world, with a in that you could get lost in and do a bunch of things. And of course, any BioWare lover, like what are they best known for? Open world games with a good story. Mass Effect, Dragon Age, KOTOR. They're all about story and making the world feel immersed and lived in. So Ghost of Tsushima already had that foundation and that basis. Now I feel like bringing this in can just add more of a flair to the next game that Sucker Punch is working on, whether that be a Ghost of Tsushima sequel or whether that be a new IP, only time will tell in that regard. Give me 1 second here, guys. So, what was I going to say? Oh, one thing, just to get while we wait for Zach here, I don't want to go off of this and go through the rest of the show. I kind of want his opinions on the PlayStation stuff. One thing I didn't when we were talking about what we've been playing, just kind of like a little side tangent here. Another game, because I know I'm not going to have time to play through Spider-Man Remastered and Miles Morales before Spider-Man 2 drops. There's just not enough time. However, I do want to play through, because while I will play through Spider-Man 2, I do want to pick up Alan Wake 2 as well and play through that, or kind of like, bounce back and forth between when I need a break from Spider-Man, go to Alan Wake, and then vice versa. So I've been playing through Alan Wake Remastered. I just started it. When was my last off day? Sunday. Started it Sunday. Played through the first chapter. Absolutely, still have that world is just just the tone of the world sets that stage so perfectly. Combat is very, is different and intriguing. Like, is it the best combat I've ever experienced? No. But is it something different for the time when it came out? Of course. The shining the flashlight and making sure your battery usage, is well set, and then making sure you have enough ammo, and like cycling through the weapons and being smart with crowd control with the flare gun. Like, it's just super smart. And that whole like little mind twist in the beginning where you wake up, where you have a fight with your wife, you go off to get something, you wake up in a car accident, and now you have to make your way backtrack, and then you find a sheriff to take you back to the cabin, only to find out, minor spoilers, that apparently there is no cabin. So where did you stay? What happened? So it's all a big mystery, and I can't wait to keep diving in. I didn't realize it's only 6 chapters. So I'm definitely going to be able to beat through this way before Alan Wake 2. So I don't know, but if I beat it way before Spider-Man 2 is a thing, I'm going to have to find something that suffices, that bridges that gap. But until then, I think Zach is back.
Play some
Say what?
Vinba.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Welcome back, sir.
Welcome. I want to play Gris as well. It's like a few years old.
Yeah, I remember Grease. So
yeah, it's on Game Pass now. To the veteran BioWare level designer thing, coming to Sucker Punch, that is huge, bro. Like, that is really, really cool. I cannot wait to see what interesting things he can bring to that world. Like you were saying, like, BioWare is known for their rich worlds, and Sucker Punch, like with Ghost, like they definitely they jumped up. The world is great. I think they can do even more with it, because like it was a very vibrant and cool looking world. I think they can go even deeper if they make another Ghost of Tsushima, which would be stupid if they didn't do a second Ghost of Tsushima. So I'm really, really excited about that.
What do you think of do you have any thoughts on the Final Fantasy 16 getting a PC port and 2 DLC expansions?
I'm glad that we're seeing, that the game is doing so well that they're wanting to go deeper with it. We were talking about Game of the Year earlier. We didn't bring up Final Fantasy 16 because neither one of us are really like Final Fantasy people. But this one definitely looks the most interesting out of all of them.
For sure.
So I think, with that being said, they're doing the DLC, that they're seeing that there is enough people and interest in the game to do that. And then with it coming to PC, you're going to see a huge explosion, because you're going to get not only the PC, base port, the vanilla or whatever, but you're also going to get those 2 DLCs later on the PC, people are going to eat that up. So I think PlayStation is doing very, very smart here, prioritizing it. And then maybe eventually we'll see it come to Xbox, which will bring a whole nother life if PlayStation does that. You know what I mean? We will only get to see that. And I was a little off on the PlayStation Portal pre-orders. I was saying, it would come out the same day as Spider-Man.
Oh, 2. Yeah.
not that far
I
off
mean,
though.
you can't bat 1,000 every time.
I was only like a month off. So
yeah.
Guys, we're about to jump into the Patreon quick hits. The quick hits are brought to you by our wonderful patrons. That's why it's called the Patreon quick hits. Become a part of the crew, part of the exclusive crew by going over to patreon.com/nerdcave and supporting us there. It helps us to create awesome content like the show you see tonight, our regular streams, our community game nights, to hire editors to do more offshoot videos and do more in-depth stuff. Everybody that goes over there and supports us helps us to be able to create this content. So thank you from the bottom of our heart to all the wonderful patrons that have went over there and decided to support us. Find the tier that fits you the best and pick that one, and you will always have our gratitude, because now it is time for the Patreon quick hits.
So starting off, Gearbox has made a series of layoffs as part of Embracer Group's restructuring. I know you talked about it last week about how they just randomly shut down Volition, so apparently they're nowhere near done just yet. Tokyo Game Show streaming schedule confirmed for September 21st through 24th. Following that, Square Enix Tokyo Game Show lineup announced, with Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy leading the charge. Mario Red Switch OLED has been announced. Shigeru Miyamoto didn't like Elephant Mario's original design in Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Charles Martinet on being, quote, Mario Ambassador. I don't know what that is just yet. Doug Bowser says 2023 will be a, quote, unique and banner year for Nintendo. Mario Kart Switch bundle has been revealed alongside 2 Animal Crossing Switch Lite bundles. Nintendo Switch Online gets 4 new games featuring Kirby's Star Stacker, Joy Mech Fight, Quest for Camelot, and Downtown Neketsu March Super Awesome Field Day. Stardew Valley Cookbook announced with recipes for pink cake, strange buns, and more. Lenovo Legion glasses aim to give portable gamers a bigger/private screen for gaming on the go. Lenovo's Legion Go is a handheld PC that's equal parts Steam Deck and Switch. Borderlands 3 is coming to Switch on October 6th, with the Pandora's Box collection out now for PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition has been rated by the ESRB because Beyond Good and Evil 2 will never come out. Power Wash Simulator DLC takes players back to the future with iconic locations. Spyro Reignited Trilogy surpasses 10 million copies sold ahead of franchise's 25th anniversary. Actors in games could join the SAG-AFTRA strike effort as a strike authorization vote is sent out to members. Hogwarts Legacy 2 is reportedly in development. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 release set for fall 2024 and is now in development at the Chinese Room. Arcane Series 2 is confirmed to air in Q4 of 2024. Fall 2024 already looking stacked. Just saying. NetherRealm says Mortal Kombat 1 is a, quote, narrative springboard for future games. Megan Fox will be playing Nitara in Mortal Kombat 1. Little Nightmares 3 dev reveals lack of couch co-op is down to, quote, preserving atmosphere and immersion. Gunbrella blasts its way to Switch and PC on September 13th. Starfield players are already creating all the famous sci-fi ships you'd expect. Starfield has already been beaten in less than 3 hours. Woof. Rumor, Red Dead Redemption 3 is, quote, officially in the works at Rockstar. Another rumor, Final Fantasy IX Remake was due in summer of next year, with Final Fantasy X Remake, while Final Fantasy X Remake won't launch in time for the game's 25th anniversary. Following that, Final Fantasy XIV director says there's, quote, no plans to make the game free to play. King of Fighters 15 unleashes Duo Lawn DLC on September 12th. Alone in the Dark release date has been delayed to January 16th. Annapurna Animation has announced a Stray movie is in the works with Ice Age director at the helm. Diablo 4 to feature annual expansions as Blizzard's vision for the game spans, quote, years and years. Persona 6 is reportedly not going to make its 2024 release and is themed around black and white. Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line Final Fantasy 16 pack brings 11 new songs on November 1st. TMNT Mutant Mayhem is getting a video game spinoff. Following that, TMNT Shredder's Revenge could get more DLC or a sequel as hinted by narrative designer. Payday 3 open beta release date set for this weekend, starting tomorrow on the 8th through the 11th. EA Sports WRC has been announced and will be releasing on November 3rd. Larian Studios says Baldur's Gate 3 crossplay is still part of the roadmap. EA's CEO says Respawn has some, quote, very exciting things going on. Skull and Bones reportedly loses yet another creative director and still no release date in sight. It's going to be PT at this point, just a demo and that's it. Tekken 8 story mode is much bigger than Tekken 7 thanks to an increased budget. And lastly, Todd Howard teases potential reveal and details for Bethesda's Indiana Jones game, saying, quote, see you next year.
There you go, guys. There are the quick hits brought to you by patreon.com/nerdcave. A lot of good stuff in there. I'm excited to see all the cool things that are happening in the gaming industry. Guys, that is going to do it for this episode. This is Zach.
And Alexander Bonaparte, writer and truth finder.
Y'all have a blessed week. Bye.